Casey Shepherd, health coach here, bringing you more information all the time so that you can empower yourself, learn to make better decisions for yourself, and dive deeper into your own issues that you have going on. And today I want to talk about elimination diets and why doing an elimination diet is probably not going to fix all of your gut issues. And most people hear about elimination diets as a way to fix their bloating and digestive issues. And I want to preface this with saying that doing an elimination diet is important to relieve some of the symptoms if you have certain trigger foods. But what most people are disappointed to see is that once they eliminate those things, that they may only get a temporary relief, and that over time they start to develop new triggers and other things that start bothering their gut and the digestive systems as well. So a few other things that I dive into, and when I get people to come talk to me about what is it that I do and how I can help them with their gut and their bloating, it's not to say that we don't look at their food intake and what is setting them off, but there are other things that we need to take into account in healing someone's body so that they can start to process those foods better. Now, trigger foods are going to cause a response in the body and a stress response. So it is important that if you're sensitive to something, that you learn what those are. But if we're going to figure out why are we getting triggered by these foods, that's a whole nother issue. And there is something called leaky gut. And over time, some of these foods can start to tear little holes in our intestinal tract and really actually just leak that out into our body, where we start getting this histamine response from it. And so what it is it's a response issue in our bodies. And that comes from a few different things. 3 things I'm going to talk about. First thing that this can be from thyroid issues. If you have a thyroid imbalance, then your gut and motility and digestive process is slower. So a slow thyroid means slow metabolism. Slow metabolism means slow motility. It means things are taking longer to travel through your digestive tract than they should, which means all of those foods in there have time to proliferate and multiply in bacteria and yeast and different things that are actually disturbing the gut lining, creating more mucus and tearing these walls in there. So think about just as a live bacteria and as a live source in your body, this actual bacteria is causing a disruption in the gut lining. So that is one thing. Thyroid creates a lot of other issues with stomach acid production as well. And when we don't have the proper stomach acid, enzymes, bioflow to break down the foods that we're eating, then we're getting bigger chunks of food and things in our systems. And let's take lactose intolerance, for instance. You need the lactase enzyme in order to break down lactose. If you're not producing that enzyme, then you cannot break that food down. And similarly, if you don't have the proper enzymes from your liver and your bile flow from your gallbladder or your stomach acid production, then a lot of these foods that you're bringing into your system, your body just doesn't have the capability of breaking it down properly as it should. And some of that does stem from a thyroid imbalance. So the thyroid can create bacterial overgrowth, can create the inability to produce enzymes and stomach acid bile flow that helps break some of this food down. So when I do examine people's lab reports or I dive in a little bit deeper with it, sometimes we do see that thyroid imbalance that's creating a lot of these other issues, not just the food intolerances, but those food intolerances create a lot of brain fog, a lot of discomfort in the gut, a lot of constipation issues. And again, there's usually something else going along there with that. Next, one of the other issues that we looked at is that bacterial overgrowth, like I mentioned, and it could be a liver issue with the thyroid, but if there is no thyroid issue, it could just be that there was something that triggered. Stress can trigger different issues with bacterial overgrowth, as well as if you even did one round of antibiotics for some sort of sickness or an infection or a surgery, even a very stressful time in your life or a life event can trigger gut imbalances and issues. It just takes one thing to push you over the edge, and suddenly you get this overgrowth and you don't have enough of the good stuff in your system to fight it off. then you get this overgrowth that kind of just starts to take over. When I do some of the health history stuff with people, we can trace it back to years ago when they started first experiencing these issues, and over time it's just gotten so out of control that it now has tripled over into other issues and imbalances. And sometimes people's major hormone imbalances stemmed from a round of antibiotics or several rounds of antibiotics for a sickness that they couldn't get over. And then, they kept getting sick because once you kill off all the bacteria in your body from that round of antibiotics, then, your body is less apt to fight off a new infection that comes in because you've also wiped out all the good stuff. So the probiotics and, making sure you have the right bacteria, good bacteria to fight off the bad stuff. And if you do have to do some of these antibiotics and stuff, that you're combating it in the right way, that you're taking the right supplements to, deal with that, and vice versa. So, and one of the other things is mineral and nutrient deficiencies. And there's a lot of reasons for a lot of this stuff. But if you're having a lot of food sensitivities and reactions, again, going back to point number 1 and 2, you are not digesting and absorbing things properly. Therefore, you're not absorbing a lot of these nutrients and minerals that you're getting from a lot of these foods, and that's creating even more deficiencies. Our gut and our body need these minerals to function well. I mean, there's a reason that these vitamins and nutrients exist, because every organ and cell of our body uses these minerals to function properly. So it's kind of like this downward spiral effect where if you already have a few deficiencies, your gut stops working properly, then you have this bacterial overgrowth. So now you're really not absorbing things properly. You don't have the digestive enzymes to break it down properly. And now you get even more deficiencies, and it spirals from there. And it's why people will just spend all this time oh, I started this supplement and I didn't notice anything. Or I just, I eliminated these foods, but I'm not noticing anything. And it's because you have to put it all together. You have to have a wide scope to look at the bigger picture and say, all of these things need to happen together in order to create this change. And again, my first point, it's why people will eliminate foods from their diet, but not notice a significant difference long-term with how their body's feeling, how it's functioning, et cetera, et cetera. And again, back to that first point, I'm not saying that you shouldn't take some things out that you are really triggered by, but taking foods out is not a fix for your gut issues. Those 3 points explain exactly why. And again, the way that I work with my clients is the full lab report, full health history, full intake form, going over symptoms, going over your body composition. All of those things help me to see exactly what's going on in the system, how it needs to be addressed, what needs to be added in order to relieve some of those gut issues. And healing the gut takes time. You've destroyed some of the flora in your gut. The mucosa lining of your gut and your intestinal tract needs to be repaired over time. And the stress has to come down. Some of the foods need to be eliminated. Certain minerals and nutrients need to be added in so that the body is getting what it needs. And again, people don't want to take the time to do that, but it's the reality. And if you really want to fix your gut long term, those are some of the things that need to be done. So I do work with clients all over the US, able to send you into a lab locally to get the results back, do a full analyzing process, and create your plan based on your specific needs and what's going on with you.